The story of the Dredge is just so unbelievable, it's almost hard to believe. I don't understand it. Who was the Dredge? How could he get away with this? What did he even do? Is he really dead? Was he ever even alive to begin with? Was the Dredge his first name, or was Lightborn his last name? How deep does it go? Who is the Dredge? Who is he? Who is he? The hard truth is, we don't really know. Some are now saying the Dredge might be an Israeli spy. Could this be the end of the Dredge? This will be the Dredge's last season with the Charlotte Bobcats. You are receiving a call from
Benjamin Netanyahu.
Dredge is in the Honda Civic driving to Ottomarian Island. Thanks to the critically acclaimed YouTuber and philanthropist Wet Sheen and his video discussing the hidden truth about the Dredge, I learned about the Dredge's connections to Netanyahu and his servitude in the Israeli Defense Force. However, after watching Wet Sheen's video, I wanted to see how such a a killer with such potential, no, it's not quite right either. A killer? Well, that's maybe a bit of a stretch. How and why the Dredge decided to join the Israeli Defense Force. And what I found disturbed me. People still have a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to the Dredge. Like how, for so long, was the baby of billionaires with riches and power able to get away for so long with something like this? To get a proper gauge on how the Dredge came to Dead by Daylight and became an Israeli spy, we must go back to where it all began. It allegedly all begins when the Dredge is allegedly summoned into the world by his alleged father in 1960, allegedly. The Dredge was raised to be a good and upstanding Israeli spy, and for the most part, he had a pretty normal childhood. He was always so excited at school, surrounded by other young killers. He really was, for the most part, your typical all-American Israeli spy. Everyone always assumed he would grow up to gather intel from Harvard or MIT. But in college, things took a turn for the worse. Oftentimes, when Israeli spies reach adolescence, they struggle to adapt to the world around them and its norms, such as the snitches get stitches policy. Dredge, he was no exception. So, Dredge never actually graduates college. Instead, he gets a job in the deep state, working in the mailroom, serving the shadowy cabal that secretly controls the US government. I mean, this guy was doing things nobody even dreamed about. He was coordinating elaborate IDF stuff, blackmailing the entity, and trafficking survivors across the globe. He was like a savant. While working at the deep state, Dredge catches the attention of extremely powerful men, such as Benjamin Netanyahu, who begin to let him into their tier. Through all of this, Dredge somehow managed to surround himself with some of the strongest and most powerful killers in Dead by Daylight. This really marks the moment where Dredge, the Israeli spy, becomes Dredge, the criminal. According to the IDF Island Tribute, Dredge was known for throwing expensive, lavish parties. He was flying in all kinds of people, from Prince Andrew, allegedly, Benjamin Franklin, somehow, allegedly, Benjamin Netanyahu, BB No Money, and the Knight, allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. Sadly, the only real proof we had was the Island Guest Book, where everyone signed, rated it on a scale of F to S tier, and gave constructive feedback. Nothing really concrete. For instance, we have no idea who rode on Dredge's transcontinental IDF railroad into his lodge at Pookie SMP, or who rode his IDF cruise ship, the boat Key's Majesty, or who rode his space shuttle, the Netanyahu Galactic. But behind all the zero-gravity Israeli propaganda, there was something much more sinister going on within the Dredge's inner circle.
I knew Dredge back then, and he knew I wanted a seat on the Netanyahu mobile more than anything. But he shut me out just because I was a woman. It was sexism. Pure and simple. Disgusting.
Thanks to the efforts of FBI agent Detective Tapp, we have ascertained that Dredge's criminal Israeli organization was like a pyramid scheme. Dredge was at the top, followed by the Israeli flag, which he never left home without, all the way down to Mr. Michael Fitzsimmons, the Dredge's personal fog dealer. The following is an interview of a detained Dredge and FBI investigator, Detective Tapp. Hey, Dredge, D-Reg, it's just Dredge. No, I could have sworn it was. Anyway, how long have you been in prison? The rest is not important. What is important, though, is what is said in this short transcript of the 12-hour interview. If you rearrange what the Dredge said and switch some of the letters around, it's just Dredge actually says, and I quote, "I am in cahoots with Benjamin Netanyahu, and Sadako Onryo is my number one op." Now the real question is it possible that this Sadako Onryo is the same Sadako Onryo that knew Dredge? A lot has been said about the relationship between Dredge and Onryo, but honestly, their relationship always was, and always has been, strictly basketball. In the 80s, Dredge was basketball. I mean, he was a phenomenon. My good friend Tobingle, I never asked him, but he probably owns a pair of Dredges. Everyone did. He was changing the game on and off the court without ever even leaving the bench. I mean, some people say that he never would have won all those championships without Lightborn or Boatkey, but they don't know what they're talking about. But if there was one person who could maybe contain him, it was Sadako Onryo. Now, Oni didn't necessarily have the defensive skill sets that Dredge had, but if you went up against Oni, you felt it. It's the summer of 2011 to 2012. Dredge and Onryo both make basketball teams. Some basketball ever played, if you ask me, period. It's the Dredge's debut game for the Charlotte Bobcats. First time off the bench. It's his time to make all that smack talk pay off, and the offensive team keeps leaving the loop. Dredge's team is getting smacked, and Onryo yells out, "Guess this Dredge guy ain't so great after all." Man, you shouldn't have said that. Dredge goes off. He's hitting a three-pointer. He's going behind the back. And by he, I do in fact mean Gerald Henderson. Unfortunately, Dredge was benched for poor performance. Dredge doesn't miss a shot the rest of the day. And after that, Magic Johnson turns to Larry Bird and says, "Get this fucking idiot off the team." Fast forward to 2015. Dredge is arrested. There was truckloads of evidence, photographs, videos, text messages. First day in court, Dredge gets onto the witness stand and immediately tries to hang himself. Despite his countless guilty verdicts of unlawful brainwashing of survivors, using Israeli propaganda through the use of a lullaby sung by Benjamin Netanyahu himself. He is granted a remnant deal and is sentenced to survive a prison with his own private Israeli intel room. It was a complete bombing of justice. For the next 10 years, Dredge lays low and mostly spreads Israeli propaganda for charity. But then, in the 2020s, he's arrested again. New analysis on the calls to Netanyahu using Dredge's phone always lead to one man, the Dredge. The Dredge is sentenced to life in prison and is ordered not to kill himself or get transported via a thick black fog. Just to be safe, though, the government orders that a random black man also be charged with the same crime, just in case. The official story? Dredge died peacefully in his noose before falling into a vat of fog, but that just never sat right with me. You're telling me, an Israeli spy with decades of propaganda left to spread, just up and kills himself? I don't buy it. I remember the night Dredge was taken away like it was several years ago. The guards told me to not go into my cell because Dredge was busy killing himself while fleeing into a thick black fog, which I always thought was really strange because that's clearly against prison rules. In all my years of being a Dead by Daylight detective, I've never seen a more botched government killing. During the autopsy report on what I think would have been the Dredge's body had it been recovered from the fog, Dredge sat up and said, "I didn't kill myself, I was kidnapped by the entity." Several times, actually. But the real question is, if the Dredge didn't kill himself and really was kidnapped by the entity, then where's the body? At 9 o'clock, the guards at Dredge's cell find his cell empty, but just a minute prior, the elite bully squad of survivors tasked with killing inmates, known as the Murder Patrol, are strangely not accounted for. Finally, there's the missing minutes to the camera footage outside of Dredge's cell. When Detective Tapp went to review the footage outside his cell, he found that over 32,587,198 minutes of Dredge's life are unaccounted for. No footage of his first summoning, first remnant, or first nightfall. All they captured was Dredge being graphically murdered for 1 minute and 30 seconds before being dragged into the fog. Strangely enough, the day before Dredge was imprisoned, the current acting president of the United States, Sadako Onryo, signs an executive order live to murder the Dredge and damn him to an eternity within the entity's realm. You may be wondering, hang on a second, you said his death was said to be suicide, right? Well, my astute viewer, you should know that Onryo also signed a second executive order to make the death look like a suicide. Could Onryo orchestrating Dredge's murder have something to do with the Dredge's death? We may never know. Now, if Dredge died that day, then how is he playable within Dead by Daylight? Well, the day after Dredge died, found footage from Hadi Kakua, I don't know, somewhere September 11th, shows Netanyahu, along with several IDF tanks, barging into the entity's realm, where Netanyahu crouches down to Dredge's soppingly wet head and whispers the Israeli national anthem before viciously and with much ferocity jamming the Israeli flag directly into Dredge's skull. Miraculously, the Dredge awakens soon after and places this weird flesh bit over top of the Israeli flag, securing it with rope and hiding his Israeli spy nature from the other killers. Now, to me, this means that the Dredge killer in Dead by Daylight isn't actually the Dredge from Ottoman's cult of losers, but is actually the vessel promised 3,000 years ago to the IDF. This means that, while Wet Sheen was correct in figuring out that the Dredge was an IDF soldier, I believe it actually goes deeper, with the Dredge really being the vessel for the Israeli man whose powers are suppressed by the entity. This is corroborated by how the Dredge's power works in Dead by Daylight. To start with, the Dredge can place his remnant and teleport back to it. This is a subtle hint towards the Dredge being able to escape situations whenever he is spying on survivors. Furthermore, Dredge can enter lockers to spy on survivors from the shadows, and this is further backed up by his IDF Intel Israeli mode meter increasing substantially faster while within a locker. Interestingly enough, his IDF Intel Israeli mode meter, when maxed, also covers the map in darkness, allowing the Dredge to sneak away or into any military base under the cover of darkness. I'd like to thank you all for watching this video. And don't worry about me. I'm safely secured at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, below a minefield, with 3 aircraft carriers on top and an orbital strike cannon above me. Even with all the security though, I have a nice computer here, good internet, a kitchen, a bathroom, and this nice unlocked locker to store my things. All in my safety bunker. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day, guys.